Hello guys, it's me Simo Orahara, and in this video we will talk about why Aizen Sasuke cannot release the Bankai. Perhaps when we talk about Bankai that we haven't seen yet, one that undoubtedly comes to mind is Aizen Sasuke's Bankai, given that there is still significant debate regarding Aizen's Bankai. Does he possess one or does he not? If he does indeed possess it, why has he not released it? Or perhaps does he no longer require its use? As you can see, there are a lot of questions. And what makes the matter even more mysterious is that Kobo didn't address this topic in the manga. We don't have any event that clearly refers to Aizen's Bankai, especially since Aizen's plot in the story was mostly based on the ability of his Shikai, Kyuka's Suigetsu. That is why I believe this might be the reason Kubo didn't mention Aizen's Bankai, nor did he make Aizen think about releasing the Bankai. Simply because Aizen was strong from the beginning, he has extraordinary Ryatsu, which increase Kyuka's power in a way that affects any opponent, no matter how strong he is. It is enough to know that Kyuka's Suigetsu affected all the Shinigami except Ichigo, of course, and he affected Yamamoto, who is considered one of the strongest Shinigami. In addition to this, the second reason is the Hogyoku. The Hogyoku increased Aizen's strength very greatly, and thus Aizen Sasuke's Ryatsu increased, which made his Zanpakuto in the Shikai phase increase in power as well. Perhaps the most prominent example we have is what happened to Yhwach. Aizen's Ryatsu has reached a level that makes Kyuka's Suigetsu able to affect someone who is considered the king of the Quincies and has the power of Ryo and Mimihage. Therefore, we can say that Aizen Sasuke, maybe he didn't have the motive that would make him release the Bankai. Of course, some fans still cling to the idea that Aizen doesn't have a Bankai, and I find this idea illogical because my mind simply cannot accept that someone like Aizen Sasuke is not able to control his Zanpakuto and force him to incarnate outside his inner world, which is one of the basic conditions to achieve Bankai. On the opposite, all evidence indicates that Aizen Sasuke has a Bankai. If we go back, for example, to the latest events of the Soul Society arc, and exactly when Aizen was talking to Ichigo about the necessity of breaking the barriers between the Shinigami and the Hollows, Aizen mentioned the issue of the limits of the Shinigami's power, especially when the Shinigami reaches a level of power in all the arts of power of the Shinigami, and he mentioned the four arts: the art of the sword, the Hoho, the Kido, and the Hakuda. So that I believe that Aizen was speaking about himself, his reality as a person who have achieved all these arts, and certainly among them will be the Zanpakuto. I mean, just notice his level in Kido. So what about the Zanpakuto, which we know has two releases, namely the Shikai and the Bankai? Therefore, I see that Aizen's ability to use the Bankai is a foregone conclusion. But the question that I find important is, why did Aizen Sasuke not use the Bankai? And in order to answer this question, we must address an important topic regarding Aizen's Bankai. As I said, there is no information about this matter in the manga, but in the novel of Spirits Are Forever With You, there is something about this. And at the same time, we have a problem there. And as you know, the novel was only translated by fans. And in that translation, there is this line where Uruzakuro is talking to Asashiro Soya. So the context of that conversation was about the price or danger that might result from Asashiro Soya fusion with Roka. As you know, among Asashiro Soya's abilities is Seta Yogo. This technique enables him to merge with beings, and through which he killed Kurashiki by merging with his heart and muscles, which made him lose his Ryatsu. Of course, the matter was not without a price. The resistance of Kurashiki caused great harm and damage to Asashiro Soya. So when he wanted to do the same thing again with Roka, the Arankara, Uruzakuro told him that every Bankai has a price, like Aizen, who cannot release the Bankai without using Shikai. Therefore, if we follow what was said in this translation, Aizen has a Bankai, but he cannot release it without using Shikai. The problem here, guys, is that some say that this translation is wrong and that Uruzakuro meant the Shikai and not the Bankai. That is, in order for the Shikai's ability to be activated, the opponent must see the release of the Zanpakuto. And even when I returned to the story of the novel in the game Bleach Brave Souls, I found that they didn't mention anything about the Bankai in the first place. Uruzakuro's words in the game were like this. Therefore, in the absence of any official translation, we cannot take this information as canon or official or correct. Rather, I will discuss it on the basis that it's just a possibility, and in fact, it remains a reasonable one, especially since there are some Bankai that need to activate Shikai in order to launch the Bankai. The most prominent example we have is Ichibi's Bankai, Shirafudi. In order for Ichibi to release his Bankai, he first needs to blacken his opponent with Shikai ink in order to change his name with the Bankai. Therefore, I find it possible with that condition of activating the Shikai in order for Aizen to release the Bankai, especially if the ability of the Bankai is connected to the ability of the Shikai, as in the case with Ichibi's Bankai. For example, we already know that Kyoka Suigetsu makes the opponent see things that doesn't exist in reality. So I can assume that maybe the Bankai will make these illusions reality. Therefore, if this ability of the Bankai, it is necessary for the Shikai to be activated so that the person sees the illusion formed by Aizen and then the illusion becomes reality at the level of the Bankai. But as I said, since this information is not confirmed, my personal belief and what I said a long time ago is that the reason for Aizen not using the Bankai may be because his ability is not appropriate for his fighting style or his plans. I previously mentioned the ability of absolute illusion, meaning that Aizen is possible if he releases the Bankai, the opponent may enter into an internal illusion from which he will not escape until Aizen dies, and this illusion may have a wide range, since Kyoka Suigetsu in the Shikai has this characteristic. Therefore, this is an ability that Aizen may not want, because it will not fit his plans, especially since there are many Shinigami who do not prefer to fight with Bankai because their abilities do not suit their fighting style or the situation or place they are in. For example, Yurichi never used the Zanpakuto in the manga, so are we gonna say that she has no Shikai, no Bankai just because she didn't use her Zanpakuto? Of course no. Logic doesn't support that conclusion. Furthermore, in the novel, Yurichi herself confirmed that she possesses a Zanpakuto, along with both Shikai and Bankai. However, she simply chooses not to use them in the combat, because they not suit her style. Also, Kyorako cannot release the Bankai whenever he wants, since the Bankai has a wide range that doesn't differentiate between enemy and friend, and the same applies to the 7th Kinpachi. It can even be said that Aizen Sasuke's Bankai may be like Hirako's Bankai. Hirako has a strange Bankai, such that the Shikai's ability is more effective and powerful than the Bankai, and this is what Hirako confirmed himself when he said that his Bankai is only suitable for sweeping foot soldiers, the opposite of the Shikai that has an effect on specific opponents. Therefore, the issue of the presence of Aizen's Bankai is a clear issue. All that remains is what are the reasons that make him unable to release it. And as I explained to you guys, if we come to the obstacles, there are many, and I have given you more than one example. The whole matter is that Aizen, as I said at the beginning of the video, may have found that he has weapons that are more effective than the Bankai, whether Ryatsu, Shikai, Kido or Hogyoku. The situation in which Aizen can release the Bankai will be a situation in which circumstances are appropriate for the ability of the Bankai, such that it makes it effective and not just for the show. In the end guys, what do you think about the Bankai of Aizen? Tell me your theories and see you guys in my next video.